What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I'm bringing you a very themed deck profile for this week coming, and it is going to be a Genesys version for Red Dragon Archfiend. Yeah, so one of the decks that didn't really feature in Legendary 5Ds because it had its own structure deck what seems like a decade ago now, but it's absolutely really kind of cool and effective in the most recent Genesys format. So I'm going to take you through the list, explain what we've got, and then as I've said, this is very themed for what's coming up this week. It might as well be the Legendary 5Ds week. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. The total cost in points for this entire build is going to be 96 points. That is with some tech choices of my own that you can take out and adapt should you want to. This includes main, side, and extra, because with Genesys you want everything in one go. On top of that as well, I'll take you through the cards in the main deck that are 0 points, and then I'll take you through the cards that are going to cost you points. Starting off with Soul Resonator. So all the cards up until I say so will be 0 point involvement, which is really kind of cool. So Soul Resonator is your ideal starter for the entire deck and the entire strategy. It gets you so much on its own, it's just absolutely crazy, and then you back this up with 4 additional cards in the hand that can be extenders or further plays. It really is important. Then we've got the 1 Crimson Resonator, 2 Vision Resonators, 1 Synchron Resonator. So these are all your tuners that are effective and your resonators in general. To get access to this card as well, you also get free Resonator Call, which is like one of the very few search cards are 0 points, which is crazy, because when you look at, like, I get it because they only get you resonators, which is absolutely fine. So when you look at like all the other generic searches like Reinforcement of the Army and cards like that, they're all going to be like 33 points, like Charge of the Light Brigade, for example, and I suppose you could argue Dark World Snow. So being able to get to all your resonators, absolutely fine. Soul Resonator being able to get you access to your Fiends is what can actually directly search you out of Skullmeister in the deck, which is really cool. But the card you're going to want to search out more times than not will be your free Bone Archfiend. You're maxing out on this card because this is going to give you the ability to kind of not worry about eating a interaction on your Soul Resonator. And the one thing I've kind of found throughout Genesys is that hand traps are more of a premium. Specifically cards like Ash Blossom, Infinite Impermanence, because straight away if you're playing 3 of those, that's 45 points on Ash Blossoms, which is nearly half your deck's point allocation, and then pretty much the exact same thing with Infinite Impermanence. So the only hand traps you probably need to really worry about on a more consistent factor would be cards like Morchomi Fualos, and then cards like DD Crow, Skullmeisters, and Droll and Lockbirds, as they are like the lowest cost implications and the most effective hand traps, in my opinion, for around that points tally. For the other Fiend monsters, we're going with the 1 Oppressive Uberloop, the 1 Red Lotus King Flame Crime, and the 1 Salamander Catalyzer. Now you can cut out the Flame Crime if you want to, which will in turn make you cut out your Red Rain. That is entirely up to you. What I quite like about all of these is they all kind of extend in their own way. So Flame Crime can extend but give you setup of a Red Rain. Your Salamander Catalyzer is just a level 4 Fiend extender, or can get you any Fiend from your hand to the field. And then the Overloop is just a Synchro extender, and being able to be sent from the deck to the grave gives it most advantage. Carrying on as well, we are playing 3 Earthbounds, very 5D-esque, but we're playing 2 of the Stone Sweeper. So this card, you can discard it to add a level 3 or lower Fiend, so again, just increasing your consistency to get to your Soul Resonator. And if you already have Soul Resonator, you then kind of bait out interactions and then start to extend into your like Vision Resonator, sometimes your Synchron Resonator, but it kind of gives you a bit of an idea of what you're trying to get to. The other Earthbound Immortal, which is a tech choice of my own, is the Earthbound Immortal Red Nova. Now, you don't have to play this card, but it's 0 points, and its effect is as follows, because this is probably like more of a uncommon one. What are you doing? I'm just keeping an eye on my dog. The dog just keeps like disrupting all the videos. Having a sniff. Anyway, you can only be 1 Earthbound Immortal monster on the field. During the main phase, you get a quick effect to banish this card from the hand or grave to send an Earthbound Immortal or a Red Dragon Archfiend from your hand or face-up monster zone to the graveyard. Then you apply one of these effects. Special summon an Earthbound monster from the deck or extra deck, you're not going to be doing that, but you can special summon a Red Nova Dragon from your extra deck, and it is treated as a Synchro summon. So you're getting more direct access to a Red Nova Dragon. It's pretty insane when you just go off the back of your Earthbound Immortal and you upgrade your Red Dragon Archfiend. Then for the spells, 2 Crimson Gaia, And then 2, Foolish Burial. Void Apocalypse. Now, this card was a pain to find. It came as, it's only had 1 print so far, Eternity Code super rare. I think they're like £5 to £7 online last time I checked. But the idea and the reason you play this is you get to discard 1 card to send a Fiend monster from the deck to the graveyard. So that is what is replacing Foolish Burial, because you can set your, like if you get interacted with on your Soul Resonator, you can send Bone Archfiend, you can send a Preface Overloop, you could send pretty much any Fiend you want in the graveyard. Heck, you could even send your Earthbound Immortal. You can send this face-up card from the Spell and Trap Zone to the graveyard to send an Infernoid monsters from the deck to grave. You're not going to use that effect, you literally only care about the first line of text. Yes, it is a Foolish Burial with an extra discard, but the idea is that being able to send consistently and further like turns is going to be what's going to set you up with more. And it's one of these cards that your opponent will be like, whoa, what does that card do? And you're like, well, it's basically a Foolish Burial inside Archfiends, which is really cool. And then the final card is going to be the Red Zone. Then we would go on to the hand traps at 0 points. I like to main deck Triple DD Crow. You can side it if you want to. That will then adapt some of your side deck cards, which I'll take you through a little bit later on. Free Skullmeister, like searchable hand trap in the deck? Yes, please. So Soul Resonator can search out your Skullmeister if you already have Bone Archfiend or any of the other Fiend monsters you already kind of want in your hand. And then the next card are the only ones in the main deck that cost points. So I decided to main deck 3 Draw and Lockbird at 5 points apiece, so that's 15 points in the main deck straight away. Then 3 Mulchummy Foolos, 7 points each. This will become even more like financially viable when you get the reprints in Legendary 5Ds coming out this week. So it doesn't really break the financial, like you've got points cost to worry about and then the financial cost, but it shouldn't really break it or give you that many issues. Just trying to line it up there. There we go. And then the final card that costs points is 3 Forbidden Droplet. Again, will come in the Legendary 5Ds deck, so it doesn't cost you a huge arm and a leg, but these are going to be 10 points each. So straight away, you've got 30 points of Forbidden Droplet, 21 in the Foolos, and then 15 in your Draw and Lockbird. And if I want to do quick maths off the top of my head, that makes it 51, 66 points into your main deck, and the rest get used on your extra deck. So that's it for the entire main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. So again, we'll go down in levels, but then I'll save the cards that are going to cost points right to the end, and I believe it's only 2 cards. So starting off with your level 12s, you got your Red Nova Dragon, obviously very easily off the Earthbound monster. You got your Red Supernova Dragon, which you can very easily Synchro Summon with 2 tuners. You've got your Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane. Just going to put that there. Then I quite like playing the Dracotis, the Corrupted Neversoul Dragon. Now, previously, I believe Bills had a points update to date. What I didn't like about Bills is Bills actually facilitated an FTK in this deck, which was in Blackwings, which was like absolutely insane. So I'm actually really glad that Bills did get hit. But Bills is like 100 points. So there's just no way you can put Bills in this deck, which I don't mind. So I've replaced it with the Neversoul Dragon. Then we've got the 2 Red Dragon Archfiend, backed up by Scarred Dragon Archfiend. I would actually be highly tempted to probably play this at 2 and maybe Red Dragon Archfiend at 3, and then I'd probably cut the Red Rising down to 2, but that's preference really. Void Ogre Dragon, 0 points, and I quite like the idea behind this, that during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap effect while you have no cards in your hand, you negate the activation and destroy it. Now this is going to be one of the ones where the grind state is like whoever's top decking, and if you're able to get Void Ogre, plus you've got Forbidden Drop that can help clear your hand out as well, could really make it quite awkward for your opponent to deal with. Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, like one of my favourite artworks for Red Dragon Archfiend, and that was before Scarred. Like when Scarred came out, I was like, oh, that's really difficult to choose which one. But Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, clearing the entire field of special summon monsters and then burning damage as well is absolutely insane. For the 7s, we've got the 1 Coolie Belt, backed up by 3 Red Rising Dragon. This is just like your ideal one to get your combo started, because you go into this one, you bring out Crimson Resonator, and then off you go. And then the final 2 cards that cost points, we've got 10 points in the form of the Bestial Disbatter, and then we have 20 points in the form of the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. So it's like, understandably so, but you kind of have to do that, and that's what tallies up to 96 points in the entire deck. Like, Archfiend Abyss, I think, is such an incredibly important card. If you want to try and save 20 points, that's when you're going to lean into your Void Ogre Dragon a little bit more, but when I look at what else 20 points could get me with this particular deck, I feel that having access to Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss is probably more prominent and more important than anything else. So that's it for the entire main deck and the extra deck. Now to show you the side deck. So for going first cards, I like to play 3 Gravity Collapse. Now you don't have to play this card. This is just like a tech card that I quite like in my Synchro deck, specifically in Genesys. So you activate by sending a face-up synchro monster you control to the graveyard. When your opponent summons a monster, negate the summon and destroy that card. Your opponent cannot summon a monster until the end phase of this turn, so it is technically a turn skip, but you have to set up with your synchro plays first. And it's one of these ones that if I'm going into Genesys and I know my opponent is playing a very heavy combo-orientated deck, being able to play Gravity Collapse can really cause them a lot of issues. The other cards that I like to play for going first is 2 Lost Wind and the 1 Searchable Red Screen. So red screen, your opponent's monsters cannot declare an attack, and this card's controller must pay 1,000 life points during each of their end phases. It's not optional. Or this card is destroyed. If Red Dragon Archfiend is face up on the field, you get to send 1 level 1 tuner monster into your, select 1 level 1 tuner monster in your graveyard, then destroy this card, and then special summon that monster. So when you don't want to be paying life points and you want to push for that OTK, you bring back a Synchron Resonator and off you go. Then 3 Dark Rule no more for going second, just being able to negate an entire field or blanket negate the entire field and then pick them apart with your Red Dragon Archfiend, Scarlights and everything else in between. 3 Gamma Seals because Lunar Lights and then any deck that plays an incredibly powerful towers that you can't get rid of. And then the final card is just Spell and Trap. Hey, you can play Twin Twisters if you want to, but I felt with this deck, because I'm already playing Forbidden Droplet, trying to maintain some hand advantage could be quite important. But on the flip side of that, being able to discard a Bone Archfiend can sometimes give you a bit more advantage should you need to. So this really comes down to preference and kind of how you'd want to play it. I don't mind the idea of Cosmic Cyclone, but then I'm not opposed to Twin Twisters, so kind of pick and choose whichever one fits you best. And that is it. Very straightforward, very, very simple for Red Dragon Archfiend. It doesn't really change that much from Modern. The only biggest difference between a Modern is whether you decide to play, whether you want to be playing cards like Bestials. And Bestials are quite costly points-wise in the form of Genesys. But then you also have the option to play kind of some other cards as well. So Bestials is one way. Centurion is quite an interesting one to go for. The issue with Centurion is Auxilia is 33 points, Primero is 5 points, and I think Tradea is also 5 points as well. So it kind of starts to rack up a little bit as you go through it, but it does give you a bit of an idea to kind of balance around, play around with it, and go from there. So that is it for the entire Genesys profile update. This is what I really love about the Genesys format. I think I've said this a couple of times now, is that the Genesys format really does open up the door to allow you to play some of these decks. It gives a lot of decks a second lease on life. It gives them another way of being able to go, okay, cool, I've really enjoyed playing this deck in Modern previously, but now it gets a little bit difficult with the way the meta currently is, so I'm going to try out in Genesys, and then it gives you another lease on life to be able to play it. And it also lets you open up doors like tech cards like Void Apocalypse. I'm like, do people even know this card exists? And you're like, well, yeah, it does. And it actually really does help it. Not that I would replace this for Foolish Burial in a modernized version of the deck, but I could arguably see myself playing 1 Void Apocalypse and playing a Foolish Burial as well. So it kind of opens up your mind a little bit more, which is really cool. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.